I love when I watch a movie and I am filled. Like, this is the reality of life. These are people's reality. Give us real life experiences. Sometimes I watch Nollywood films and it seems as if, life is that easy, life is that simple, everybody will become rich someday. But no, this movie took us on an entirely different experience. Okay, this is not entirely a new storyline, but the process was different. But you see, my main grievance on this movie is that despite my patience in watching a 2 hours 53 minutes video, I encountered a production error right at the beginning for about 10 minutes or thereabouts. The audio was problematic. The actors' voices echoed, making it hard to follow the dialogue. Fortunately, the movie improved. The audio was clear. But then again, watching this movie, I realized that the movie lacked detailed attention to important things. But still doesn't rule out the fact that I had a great time watching this beautiful movie. Okay, so Finding Hope is a beautiful movie. Not entirely a new story. Okay, we've had the story countless times in Nollywood movies, but the process was different. The process was unique. The ending was amazing. Not seen of in any YouTube movie. I do not want to categorize it as in any, Nollywood movie, but I would say in any YouTube movie. And I'll tell you why. So there were a lot of things I loved about this movie, and there were a lot of things that didn't work for me in this movie. First of all, guys, let's run down through the plots of this movie. So this movie tells the story of how those two young children were left alone in this lonely world after the demise of their parents. So things were difficult for them. Things were tough. The only thing they had was the rented apartments their parents left for them in the ghetto area. They had to fend for themselves. They lived from hand to mouth. They begged. They did a lot just to live. They were loving siblings. They were each other's backbone. They were there for each other. Things were so tough for them. They questioned God's existence. Survival was difficult for them. But they had to believe that there was God and He was watching over them. People saw them as good children, hardworking children, and then things turned for good for them. So that's about the plot of the movie. Now, guys, let's talk about the characters in this movie. So this movie features the amazing cast: Clinton Joshua, Sarian Martins, Nelson Iwu, Pearl Shim, Nancy Desmond, and many others. The character played by Clinton Joshua as Obum was an exceptional acting. Guys, I was in awe to see how Clinton Joshua could give a range of emotions in this movie. Like, if you did not cry when this guy was really expressing hurt, when he was expressing his disappointment, when he was expressing how things have been so tough and difficult for them, guys, I do not know what you should cry for again. This guy made us feel his pains. He brought in so much emotion into this movie. He took us on a beautiful journey in this movie. It was smooth. His performance was excellent. His role in this movie was to act as a very poor guy, a very poor kid, which he did. Okay, he made us believe that he was actually poor, and the way Clinton was able to speak pidgin English was beautiful. The way he was able to give us the life of a poor boy, make us believe that, hey, this guy is actually poor, both in character, in attitude, in spoken words, dressing. It was amazing. The ghetto child. His other character was to crush on his neighbor, Jessica, and that alone added a different light to his character. Okay, I love how he made us feel in this movie. Clinton was a really good actor. The way he was flirting with his neighbor, looking at her, admiring her, hailing her, was quite beautiful. We saw different characters of Clinton Joshua in this movie. Yeah, his relationship with his sister was also amazing. As a big brother, he really pulled out a big brother's duty so well. And for me, Clinton's character was beautiful. It was amazing. He made it look believable. He made it look natural and real. Now, the character played by Sarian Martins as Jessica I'm not gonna lie, guys. Sarian Martins is a very wonderful actress. Like the way this girl acts her shy roles, the way she makes us believe in her, the way she's able to pull out great performance in any character given to her is applaudable. She in this movie was a very beautiful watch. I love, what she and Clinton were having. I love their hide and seek game. I love their love. Okay, it was beautiful to watch. It was beautiful to see these ghetto children, make ghetto interesting. She's an amazing actress, and I will say that she did well in her character. Very believable character, very natural. Now, the character played by Pearl Shim, I am super proud of this girl because, she did a great one in this movie. The sarcastic sibling, the one who loves her brother so much and was willing to do anything just to put a smile on his face. Though very stubborn, very, very stubborn, but still, I loved how she made us love her in this movie. I love her expression in this movie. It was real, it was satisfying. She did a great job here. Now, the character played by Nelson Iwu as Olokpa, guys, I am so proud of this actor. This is a new actor who is giving us pro acting. His character as Olokpa, the policeman, was great. Did you see his commands of words? Did you see how he was intentional with his acting? Did you see how he made us love him? This guy was good. He pulled a very commanding presence in this movie, which was good for his character, okay, and it was amazing. Nelson Iwu, I want to see more of you in movies. The character played by Nancy Desmond as Fumi was a very beautiful one as well, okay. She added great light into this movie. Yes, her presence was really beautiful. Acting as a jealous neighbor who loved the neighbor, but the neighbor was not even seeing her at all, okay. I love what she did in this movie. I love that character, and I believe that she really gave us a wonderful and a good performance in this movie. So overall, the performances for me from these characters were amazing. It was a 10 over 10 for me, yeah. Finding Hope was directed by Chukwuwetalu Cassandra Chiwendu, aka Ben Kasi. She was as well the EP, the executive producer, and the producer. And also the producer is Uche Nambonabo. This is the first movie of Ben Kasi, and I must say, this is a great one. This is a big one. This is a huge one. Congratulations to Ben Kasi on her first movie production. Yeah. So before we get to what didn't work in this movie, let's talk about what worked in this movie. First of all, the cinematography of this movie. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Guys, the camera shot of this movie was sleek. It was clean. And I want to applaud the cinematographer Ejike Ede for this amazing work. The location of this movie was another one. The location added beauty to what the story was saying, to what the story was telling. I love the ghetto area. I love the ghetto environment. A beautiful, beautiful one. So the location for me was amazing and was excellent. Another one for me here was the soundtrack, the music, amazing. At that point, I would say that the movie paid proper attention to the soundtrack of this movie, to the location, to the cinematography. Yes, the movie actually did. It was a beautiful one for me, and I think I enjoyed the movie more, because of the great music, the soundtrack, the keys. It was beautiful, guys. It was amazing. And what pains me so much about this movie is the fact that this movie had a lot of positive things to like, great things to talk about, but then lacked proper attention to details at a particular important aspect of this movie. So, what I like about this movie again is, now I didn't say this, okay, I loved the beautiful voice of Pearl Shim. It was beautiful. And also, when we heard the keyboard also played to this her beautiful song, it was amazing. Yes, it was. I equally love the costumes. Yes, it was a beautiful costume to tell the extent of the suffering that these people suffered in this story. Okay, so we saw, the extent of their poverty, and the costume they were given or that was made available for this movie told the extent of their suffering. Yeah, so that's a beautiful costume for me. The settings was as well beautiful. I love the settings. Proper attention to details here again. Look at the room. Look at the room that these children lived in. It showed the extent of how poor they are. Look at newspapers covered around the wall, showing that they cannot even afford to get paint. Proper attention to details. The performances of the actors, the acting, great. That's about what I loved in this movie and what worked in this movie. Now, let's talk about what didn't work in this movie. So let me start by stating that as a movie analyst, I am not only concerned or focused on, the entertainment a film brings to us. I am equally concerned with paying detailed attention to all aspects of a film. Now, while watching this movie, I realized that the movie didn't establish to an extent the life of the real ghetto life. What do I mean by this? So, in a particular scene where we saw Clinton being beaten up by some street guys after his sister had stolen a pair of shoes from a shop, we saw how few people gathered to beat Clinton Joshua. Okay, and then he was rescued by the Olokpa by his threatening presence, and then he was carried by him to the hospital. Then what we saw there after they had gone was, his sister fainting on the ground. Then there was Jessica, there was Fumi. And then I noticed a different lady entirely, that I know that she's not part of the movie, at the background of the movie, doing her own thing, looking at them and washing, doing her thing entirely. And I said, no. If you look at the background critically, you would see that there are people at the extreme watching them. Guys, no. No, no, no. This is not a typical ghetto setting event. See, there is something about the ghetto area, okay? When something like this is happening in the ghetto area, you would see people around. People from houses will come, all of them will be looking, okay? Even as some people had carried, Clinton Joshua out, you will still see people there. They would gather. Let me tell you something about the ghetto. Nobody minds their business in the ghetto. I was supposed to see people gather here. But I didn't see anybody. I only saw these 3 people. It is never typical of a ghetto area. It is not typical of a ghetto area. So that's about that. Now, another thing that didn't work for me in this movie was seeing Clinton being bandaged on his head and hands just because of the beating they gave to him. And I was confused. I was beginning to think, bro, did you people have accident on your way to the hospital? Because I do not understand all this. How come the bandage on the head and on the hand? How come all these bruised faces? I mean bruised face. How come it? Why are you exaggerating your predicament? Because me and you saw that nobody was even armed to beat you. Me and you saw that the only armed person was one guy that went to the firewood, to the hot fire to carry one hot firewood. And then we did not even know if you used it on you or not, because we did not see any burn on your face. We did not see any bruises on your face. Okay, let me not even say there were not bruises on your face, because we cannot tell how they hit you, okay? But bro, the all bandage thing, what's going on? So that's about that. I didn't like about the movie, okay? This particular path was exaggerated. It was exaggerated, yeah. And lastly, I will say that the old breaking transmission, the audio problem, what happened? What happened? That's not good for an Uchenna Munabo's production. That's not good for a start of a movie. Alright? They should have taken their time to correct that. But it wasn't corrected. It was just ignored. And I think it should not be something that should be ignored in any production at all. So I did not talk about the directing, because that was equally what I loved about the movie. Yeah, I love the directing of the movie. Only that I had a problem with the pacing. Okay, I felt like the pacing was a little bit dragged. Okay, it was dragged. It was actually dragged. Now, you see something about this movie, Finding Hope. I want to state my credit scene. One credit scene in this movie, which I think is something I also liked about this movie. And like I said, these movies was a different process from what we have had of any Nollywood films. Okay, so we saw how these people suffered. We saw how Obum and Kaima suffered. We saw how God elevated their lives. Now, when you watch other Nollywood movies, you think, oh, these people, after suffering, they will become so rich. It is super easy to predict Nollywood's movie. But I want to applaud the director of this movie, the script writer, the producer, for this brilliant movie. This is different entirely. And sometimes I say that some movies are not realistic. Some movies do not really tell the exact realities of life, but this movie gave the exact realities of life. Okay, so we saw this guy's process. We saw how he suffered, and we saw how his life was elevated. And how was he elevated? He had a better source of livelihood. Okay, still living in such environment. Now, if it was to be other productions, they would have told us how this guy later had cars, houses everywhere, how he became super rich. And then it seems like we are not in the same world. It seems like everybody would become very rich. Every poor person would become so rich. Nobody tells us the real realities of life, but this movie gave us the real realities of life. The ending was superb. God elevated his life. God blessed him. But not that kind of blessing or becoming super rich, having a car, having a big mansion. This is what happens in families. This is reality. And I love to see movies that brings reality, that speaks more on reality. Sometimes the way a story is being told is as if life is so easy for everyone, and eventually everyone will become rich. Everyone in the whole world will become rich, because that is what we have seen of all Nollywood movies. Nobody tells us the real realities of life. Not everybody will become rich. God might elevate you, but not that kind of elevation that we see in movies. Okay, so this is a brilliant script. Thank you so very much, guys, for watching. Please do also like this video, share the video, subscribe to Substance TV, and let me know what you think about this movie in the comment section below. Please do also share the word about this channel, Substance TV, a channel for movie lovers. See you guys in my next video. Until then, stay splendid.